It's the Center Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Yes! Yes! Yes, this is my favorite part of the game.
Analyzing all of the league matchups week to week.
You can't win!
Get him a body bag! Finish him!
It is a bit above average.
I said this sucks, and basically so do you.
And discussing the boom, bust, and hidden gem players throughout the league.
We ain't found shit!
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here? I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Laces out.
Touchdown!
And here's your host,
Allow myself to introduce myself.
David Harbacken. Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast for Season 5, Week 11. I'm your host, Dave Harbacken, joined by the Commissioner, Mr. Geza Lutsky.
Yep, the only two people who are ever on the fucking podcast. Thanks a lot, League.
I mean, they're all invited to come by. Although I think there's a lot of depressed teams this week because we have some spoiler alerts going on last week. So as opposed to the broadcast or the podcast last week when I had every minute detail of the game able to tell that to everybody, this week I slept through the games. I went to a wedding the night before, was out until about 6 a.m, passed out for an hour, sobered up, got home, and then just passed out. So I didn't watch any of these games. I watched the Broncos New England game, and that's it. Other than that, I have no idea what happened. Other than via score. But yeah. So, with that, let's go into the analysis of this week. This past week. What game would you like to start with, Commissioner? Are we still playing Risk? What's going on?
Well, let's... No, I'm still playing Risk, yes. I'm here. Risk for the PS3, by the way. It's a little bit old. Actually, it's for the PS2, but it plays. It's backwards compatible for the PS3. For all you gaming geeks out there, which I'm sure there are none.
I'm one. What territory do you have? Let everybody know.
I always start in Australia.
Interesting. Well, yeah, that's a good place to start.
Bottom right corner of Australia.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
All right, so let's check out the matchups from last week. We have, let's start off with, should we just start off with the blowout of the week?
Sure.
Maybe that we should make that our new thing. We just start with the Toyota blowout of the week.
All right,
This week, I believe, was the Lightning Rods over. Shall I say it? I mean, I'm so tempted to say it. Low end Coach 3. I know, Lombardi. I'm sorry. I had to get that thing in there. It's so funny. All right. Let's start with that game, if you will.
Another spoiler alert for this game. Or spoiler in this game. I certainly think the Blues had to be, at least by record, favored to win this game. But that was not the case. I can't believe this is the blowout of the week. But, yeah. Wow. It is. This was huge, by the way, for the implication of the standings. This was a nice surprise to wake up to at about 5:30 p.m. on Sunday for me. But go ahead.
All right, here we go. So, 72 points. Whew, this was interesting. So Tyrod Taylor, I don't know what happened in Buffalo. They just got trampled by the New Orleans Saints. Absolutely trampled. Their defense is just, they're gone. They're finished. They can't stop the run. They can't stop. They keep doing it. Curse. 7.5 points on that one. First of all, the entire Jet offense in Tampa Bay. I've seen some very poor football games in the course of my career. That was one of the worst. The most frustrating. I had the quarterback and Robbie Anderson, and Blues had Curse. I mean, he must have been cursing with that performance. They were abysmally bad. I've almost yet to see a game as bad as that. The Jets were pitiful. I might just dump all the Jets into the garbage can. He should do that with Curse, too. Allen was all right. Now, here's where it got interesting. So, Freeman, slipped on a banana peel. I've been waiting for this all season long. So he's worked through shoulder injuries, knee injuries, ankle, you name it. This guy just keeps coming back into the lineup. And then he gets his bell rung on the second play of the game and never comes back. 0.3 points. Ooh, that was brutal because Freeman's one of his big-time backs. LeVar Miller, again, has been non-existent all season long. And Eric Ebron is not going to save the day. Riddick did his part, and then the New England defense was a savvy pickup for this coach. But overall, with no production from the quarterback of Freeman, this was ugly. And then you look at the lightning rods. Cam Newton was Superman. I mean, he got more than half the score of Lombardi's team all by himself. Holy macaroni! All right, Shyster Smith again was amazing with 20 points. And then the rest of his team, you look down. I mean, Mixon and Murray that was a good pickup by him picking up Murray. And then, Gostkowski with 11. But everything else was so long. But what more did you need when Superman's going to put up a 40-burger? I mean, Lombardi, he must be concerned, to say the least.
Well, it wasn't even the...
You look at the two...
Well, go ahead.
And then the bench was just, Rivers was just... Actually, Rivers would have been a great put in there. But who's going to put in Rivers against Jacksonville? You never would have done that.
Yeah.
So he made the move that everybody would have made there. But, yeah, it just... His performer didn't show up. It was
yeah, but I mean, he had... The Lightning Rods had... he was already ahead of Lombardi before Newton even played on the Monday night game. So, I mean, I think he had a 2-point lead at that point and then just blew him out by whatever the difference was after that. Well, I guess, on the Carolina defense got 1 point. But, yeah. I mean, his points were all on... He had already won this game on Sunday. I mean, that wouldn't have been the case had Rivers played, but... You're right. I mean, that's not the wrong coaching decision to make. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm Lombardi, I got to be concerned that he's going the way that Nick went after the Rodgers injury. I mean, he was in second place. He was I mean, what was it? 5-1 or something at that point. Or whatever. I mean, he's lost every game since. So, I mean, Nick is on a 5-game losing streak. So, and he's 4-6. So he was 4-1 at the point. And he hasn't won since. Lombardi now on a 2-game losing skid. He hasn't had an injury that's caused this. But some of the season is starting to catch up with him in terms of the point total and a lot of other stuff. But I mean, by record, he's still in it. I mean, it's still his to lose. But I mean, going into this playoff stretch, I mean, I'd be a little bit concerned if I were him.
Well, yeah, I would definitely say so. And you might even be a little bit more concerned because I believe this is the second straight week that a Lombardi coached team. So last week he had 74 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this week he comes out swinging, so to speak, and he's got 72. So, I mean, if this is going to be, like, his average total every single week, I mean, the Millennials got 69 points this week, and I chuckled, but Lombardi only beat him by a field goal.
Well,
so, I don't know. This has to be a concern if you're that head coach.
True. I mean, he did.
Put up some points.
True. He did have Evans on or at least suspended for this week, so that does have some impact on it, but... nonetheless, this is, I mean, it's been a couple weeks now where when was the last time he cracked 100? Was it,
well, let's see. It's been a little while. It definitely, it wasn't last week. And then the week before that, it might have been the week before
week
that.
8. Week 8, he got 113.
Yeah, so week 8. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But as we start to head into the playoff stretch right now, I mean, you gotta be able to put up some points. And with this lineup, I just don't see where the points are going to come from.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but we'll see. For the Lightning Rods, this is a hugely important win for him. I mean, because if he would have lost here, it would have been 4-6, and really, almost out of the playoff race. Not officially, but I mean, he would have been. I mean, because we've talked about this many times before, it looks, I mean, we could be completely wrong, but it looks as if 7 losses is going to be eliminating. Like, I don't think that there's anybody that's going to be 6-7 that's going to make it. They might, but I doubt it. I think that 7-6 is probably going to be the last playoff spot. So, I mean,
that's going to be alarming news for Dr. Hockey, who plans to make the playoffs. He's sitting currently at 7 losses, so if he wins out, he will end up 6-7.
Yeah.
We're going to see.
I mean, if he wins out, maybe things. I mean, like, I'm not saying, but I'm just, he doesn't have much of a buffer zone there. Maybe 6-7 makes it, but I doubt it though. But so I mean, this kind of he gives him some room to move. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not even sure that 7-6, that all the 7-6 teams will make it. I think it might come down to points with them. So, but this, puts him in contention for that. I mean, he's 5-5, with 3 games to go. So, hugely important win for him. And I think this has just got to be.
I agree. And he's not doing himself. Lombardi's not doing himself any favors, because if you look at it, this was 6-4, and Lightning Rod was 5-5. He's only a game behind.
Yeah.
So if Lombardi were to lose one, he were to win one. I mean, you start to get to a point where when you're getting into the 70s and you're giving up 100 plus, the point differential is starting to swing towards everybody else that you've played. Yeah. So Lombardi can find himself in a tough spot point differential wise too, not just record.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, like, the thing that's been really keeping Lombardi alive has been his record all along. But he, if he's not careful, and he could. I mean, and he gets into that 6. I mean, he's already dropped down to 4th. If he gets to that 6th place on the bubble, where he's tied with somebody, he might not have the points to overcome, and which would be astounding. It would be quite a collapse if he were to not make the playoffs at this point. But it's something that he has to think about. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. We're nowhere near that point yet. But there's, it has to be a concern in the back of his mind at this point.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
and Lightning Rod's, well done. He's on his way up.
Yeah.
He's on his way. 5-5 is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You can't write him off just yet.
Yeah. I mean, he did what he needed to do. That's about it. I mean, and he played his best team for the most part. I mean, I guess he could have played the other Bryant, although not that you would have, and he would have maybe gotten an extra point. But this was the best team. He left 8 points on the bench. So, I mean, both of these teams really did play their. I mean, other than Philip Rivers, though, like we said, that's not really the move that you would have necessarily done. Both these teams did maximize the rosters that they had, and unfortunately, for Lombardi, it just wasn't enough. Okay, so we can move away from the blowout from the week and go on to the next game. I guess you mentioned the Millennials game. This was one that was.
I was just about to suggest that. Let's take a quick look at this Millennial.
Now this game was not an upset. Though the result. Well, I'll let you get into the analysis of exactly what happened, and then we can talk about the game and the implications for the team. So, go ahead.
All right, so let's start on the Millennial side. And he's got Andy. I was wondering what he was going to do about his quarterback situation, first of all, because both of his quarterbacks run a bye. He ended up dropping Dante Foreman, the running back for Houston, and he went with Andy Dalton, who got a decent amount of points. 18 points. So he would have had more if he didn't have 2 fumbles lost. What a bungler. But, that's Andy Dalton for you. But 18 points is fine. And then the rest of the team, I mean, this motherfucker, Marvin Jones Jr., right? This is more like what he usually gets. 3 points, 2 points, right? Yeah, not the 29 the week I needed him to have 3.2. That's for sure. That's for damn sure. But Marvin Jones doesn't show up. Benjamin, which said, I mean, it's been interesting. It's been feast or famine for the Millennials at running back. I mean, Howard, another 5.4 points and 6 for McKinnon. Howard has had, he had that 31-point game back in week 3, and then since then he's had an 18 and a 14, but it's been single digits. I mean, he had 15 last week against the Saints, but Millennial needs these guys to show up every single week. And McKinnon, I mean, he's had some 26-point games, but he's had some real clunkers as well. It's under double digits again. And Delaney Walker, he goes with him. Montgomery's back in the lineup. I think he's injured again, actually. And then, kicker and special teams didn't really help him out.
His standard
69 points.
and
he's just not going to win you many games.
And he lost the point. He lost the point on defense again. Another 2 weeks in a row, where he's lost points on defense.
And this time he played a kicker for a whooping extra 2 points. And then the special team at 110. I mean, he got production out of Michael Thomas. That Drew Brees to Michael Thomas connection is nice. I mean, there was no touchdown there, so he didn't get 2 for his. But Michael Thomas still led the team with 20 points. His kicker, gave him an extra 8 points. The defense didn't go into the negatives, which always helps. Hearns with a surprising 14 points. And then he didn't get much help from his tight end, but everybody else was in double digits, Crowell and Hyde. I mean, but the Millennials is just another team where at least he took Amari. I guess Amari Cooper took himself out of the lineup with his bye week, but this Millennials team has been a real head scratcher. But I have to note, he did beat me.
Yeah,
so I don't know what's going on with this team, but 69 points going forward, Dave. Question.
Yeah, on one reception, on just that was just an astounding comeback, and then there was nothing after that. I mean, yeah, Marvin Jones, and he's going against Cleveland this week. I mean, it was against Green Bay the week before. He gets 29 this week against Cleveland. He gets 3.2. So go figure. For the special team, I mean, so this is the first week without Ezekiel Elliott finally for him, and I mean, he's just like. I mean, it's like he's bandaging himself together. He's like, with, I don't know. I feel like with duct tape for like a severed limb. This whole team. I mean, I can't believe that he moves to 5-5 now. I mean, this was a team that for the longest period of time I wrote off. I mean, I think he even wrote himself off by calling him the special team. Oh, look at this. We have a call from Dr. Hockey. Hello, Dr. Hockey. You are on the air, actually.
Hello.
We haven't gotten to your game yet, though I know that you will want to. But right now we're in the middle of... what are we in the middle of? The special team versus the Millennials. So that's a subject that I know that you love to talk about.
Oh, well, there's not much to talk about there.
Well, good evening, Dr. Hockey. Great to hear from you, buddy.
Good evening, sir.
So,
I was. Side note: I was just at a local pub in Asbury Park and ran into someone from high school. And back in the day, like she was like smoking, right? Like, you were just like, whoa, like in high school. And then if you look at them now, oh wow, life's changed. Life's been hard on some people, like the Millennials. Life's been real hard.
Interesting analogy there. Yeah, I mean, it's brutal.
Some people been through hard times, like the Millennials, Don't quite look like what they're used to, you know what I mean?
All right, so, I mean, just for what do you call it? For the Whalers here, I mean, he's basically stitched together his team. I mean, first of all, I mean, like I said, I think that it almost seems as if he wrote himself off earlier in the season. But managed to really, I mean, he's pretty damn active in the free agency market, and he's done things and clawed his way back to 5-5. I think it's tremendous. I mean, and right now, if the season were to end, he'd be in the playoffs, which is unbelievable to me. I mean, he was down by like 10th for the longest period of time, so it's quite impressive. And for the Millennials, he's managed to grab 12th place, last place there for himself. So I don't know what to say there. I mean, I know that you're thrilled about that, but
I mean, the guy stunk, right? Let's keep it real. He stunk all year long. His team stinks. I mean, look at that roster. I mean, look at the roster. Look at it. I mean, it's just awful.
He did manage to beat Geese by 1 point the week before, though. I mean, that's a devastating loss for the Hagglers. I mean, so.
I mean, the sun shines on a dog's butt. That doesn't doesn't mean he's got a good team.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. All right, I think we've beaten this one to death. Why don't we move on to the next game, which is actually your game, Dr. Hockey. Let's talk about what happened here. House Targaryen moves himself out of last place, moves up to the vaunted 11th position, 2 games out of a playoff spot, theoretically, with 3 games to go. With the other huge upset of the week, defeating Dave's Secret Crush. I mean, look at this. 149 to 118. Hockey. I mean, do you have the game up in front of you, or do you need that described to you?
I can pull this up.
All right. Well, I'll start, at least, while you're pulling it up. So Case Keenum comes in off the waiver wire to get 34.06 points. Julio Jones gets 11. Richardson started off the week with only a 5.3 point total there after Thursday night. So, it looked kind of bad at the outset. But then DeMarco Murray with 29.2 points, 14 for Duke Johnson, 15 for Ingram, 21 for Tate. Yeah, quite an impressive. And by the way, you still left 16 points for Hooper on the bench, and Ellington with 12. But you've built yourself a decent team here, Dr. Hockey.
I know.
I mean, it might be a little too late. We'll see. I don't know if it is yet. Anyway, I mean, you are still 2 games out, so we'll see.
This team is legitimate now. It's legitimate.
I know. And then for Eugene, he left a bunch of points on the bench, by the way. So, he started Wilson. He got 23 points, 14 for Doug Baldwin, 13 for Cooks, 16 for Bell, only 2.6 for Powell, 12.9 for Witten, and 18 for Hopkins. So, as far as what was on the bench, 12.5 for Abdullah, 21 for Larry Fitzgerald, 12 for Darkwa, and 22 for Roethlisberger, which is actually less than Wilson got. But so one interesting thing that has happened is, and Geese, you and I had talked about this last week about how the injury to Deshaun Watson, and as well as the Carson Palmer injury, had the potential to really derail some of his best players, Hopkins and Fitzgerald. But it hasn't actually happened yet, or it might not happen at all. I mean, Hopkins, look, he's not getting the 39 numbers that he was getting when Watson was in there, but 18 is still respectable. 21 from Fitzgerald. That's better than he did some of the times when Palmer was in there. So he's not suffering from that. this is not a bad performance from Eugene. It's just a losing performance because Dr. Hockey overwhelmed him. But I don't know. Talk about what if you think that if they're going to continue to sustain themselves at this level, Fitzgerald and Hopkins.
Look, I don't see it happening.
No,
I don't see Hopkins and Fitzgerald maintaining this level. I don't see it at all. And look, the Hopkins thing is a little bit deceptive. They already got ran out the building by the Rams. At some point, it's just garbage catches, right?
They still count, though.
This is. I think that might explain Hopkins' points here.
111 receiving yards on 7 receptions. There's no touchdowns in there, but still gets 18 points without a touchdown.
They lost 33-7. They stopped caring after a while.
Yeah.
Right? I don't see it happening. It's a shame, too, because Deshaun Watson was literally the most exciting football player in the NFL. But I don't see it happening. I don't see the production out of Larry. I don't see the continuous production out of Hopkins. I think Houston's got a problem there. And I think Dave Secret Crush is going to have to deal with that.
Keys?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Ironically enough, without the I think this is why Lombardi's so good. Without the Le'Veon Bell deal, I mean, Secret Crush is pretty much a mirror image of Lombardi's team. A team, that is just struggling to put up points without their. I mean, nobody's been hit by injuries harder than Eugene as far as the quarterback position goes, with Watson and Carson Palmer out. But somehow Russell Wilson, the Doug Baldwin connection, is like saving him. So if that tanks, this guy's in deep trouble.
I mean, yes, if that tanks, but so far it hasn't. There hasn't been any signs of it. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, he's been. 16 points. I mean, though it was against Indianapolis. I don't actually think that Eugene is in that much trouble yet. I don't see signs of it. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have a second running back. I mean, I guess he could play Abdullah, but I mean, he's been somewhat inconsistent. Cohen just hasn't panned out at all.
Look, Bell's going to get his numbers regardless.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's going to get his numbers regardless, as long as he's healthy, right? And Doug Baldwin, because of Russell Wilson, is going to be okay.
Yeah.
So he's got three players that, no matter what, are going to be okay. And you know what? Cooks is going to get a little something. I mean, you're going to see probably a double-digit performance from Cooks week to week, too.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think he's in, like... All I'm saying is that he's not going to get those DeAndre Hopkins mega numbers anymore. And he's not going to get some Larry Fitzgerald mega number on a regular. It's not going to happen. It's not gonna happen.
I agree with that,
but it doesn't mean that his team is just like doomed.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Absolutely.
I think he just got overpowered by the talent on House Targaryen.
I mean, I think that happened. I mean, it's hard to deny it. Well, Geese, anything you want to say on this game? Inflate Dr. Hockey's ego anymore?
Dr. Hockey, I mean, this guy, on several occasions in my lock of the week to lose, but I can't pick him anymore for that. He's a monster. He's just a monster. I mean, Julio Jones hasn't really showed up for him all season, and it hasn't even mattered. I mean, what is this 29 points from DeMarco Murray? Hello, is this the same guy? We were laughing at DeMarco Murray all season long. I don't know what happened there. The Duke Johnson deal, he's played. Evan Engram, he's played forever. Colton Cady played forever. Forbat, the kicker, the Forbat was on a bye last week. Hockey kept him on his bench. Son of a bitch. I wanted that guy, and I couldn't find him. Why? He's on Hockey's fucking bench. So this guy, coach, okay, the Green Bay defense against Chicago, I saw that. That was a Sunday morning pickup. And Case Keenum, that was a Sunday morning pickup. I mean, I don't know how the guy does it. He just has a nose for, like, Sunday morning, probably waking up in a hangover, pushing some buttons, and puts together a team. I don't know how he does it.
Now, hockey's
I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, to use our analogies, hockey, I think you're a high ceiling, very low floor, flex coach 1. Like, it's all of, but I have to say, look, I think for a large stretch of this season, you had some of the person. It was just like you were not playing like them at the right time. So, like, Ingram would be on the bench, and that would be the week that he would have a great game because you play your other tight end, and then you'd play Ingram, and then he would have a terrible game, and Hooper would have a great game. So, but like it finally seems like you have almost, I don't know if it's happened too late, but and I think that the loss last week to Nick and Jamie is devastating for your team, because otherwise I really would have thought that you could have been. I would have picked you to almost be almost a shoo-in for a playoff spot at that point, and you would have been a team that I wouldn't have wanted to face in the playoffs. Now you could still make it. A lot of things have to fall into place for you to do it, but this is a team that I don't want to face right now. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I think
you're a team that's a real hassle because you have to put up $150 or more to win. And quite frankly, my team can't do that.
Yeah, we're legit. We're legit. We're late, but we're legit.
Yeah, spoiler.
I mean, look, he could be more than I mean, like, this has been a very... I mean, this season is really interesting. I mean, it would be shocking if the guy who was literally in last place the entire way up until this last week ends up making the playoffs. But that's how crazy a season this has been. And I mean, look, it could happen. It's a very big long shot at this point. I mean, I will say this: one more loss and you're done. I mean, you can still collect your $5 a week, but
Yes.
But you still have a chance. Everything has to fall into place, but you still, I don't know.
But I am significantly favored over the Blues here.
As well you should be. I mean, look, we just had the conversation about the Blues. He was the only other game that we covered before this. But yes, the Blues are a team on the down. Like, I mean, the Blues might find himself on the outside. What?
You're like, of course I am.
Right. Yeah, no, that does not shock me in the least. I mean, we've had our fun with Lombardi this whole time. But, I mean, like, I think that he has to really start being like, oh, man, am I not going to make the play? I mean, like, I don't think that he's thinking that necessarily, but he should be thinking that. Because he's put up 70. I mean, he literally, his last 2 weeks wouldn't add up to the total that you scored in this 1 week. He could have played his combined total for the last 2 weeks, and they don't equal what you got this week. That would be a problem. That would be concerning.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. And for Dave Secret Crush, look, he's still... I mean, look, this is a huge blow, and we can talk about the standings after we're done going over all the last week's games. I mean, this is a huge blow for his chances to win first place. He still has a slight outside chance. He still has a good chance of getting the bye if he continues to win, but, I mean, like, this is a devastating loss for him. There's no way around that. But... I mean, he'll still be a playoff team. I'm pretty sure he will. I mean, like, I could be wrong, but I mean, even 118. I mean, I still think that he'll be a playoff team, and a good one at that.
What was an interesting stat? Because I read the whole Yahoo thing after you win. It said if I had the same schedule as Dave Secret Crush, I'd be 5-4.
Interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, I was like, no.
Yeah.
Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. What did it say he would be if he had your schedule?
I didn't even pay attention.
I still think that he would have been fine if he had your schedule. I mean, but yeah, he's still one of the better teams in the league. All right, well, let's move on to the next game because we still have a lot to go over. Where should we go now? Dealer's choice. Who wants? Geese, pick a game. Pick a game, any game.
Hockey got a special guest. Let's let him pick the next game.
All right, Hockey. Who do you want to pick?
I mean, we talked about the millennials.
We talked about the
We've
millennials.
gone over millennials. We've gone over your game. We've gone over lightning rods. Those are the 3 games.
Yeah.
And we talked about Black Ice because
No.
I love that name.
No, we have not. Let's move on to Black Ice. The only team that scored more than you this week, actually. Okay, so the Black Ice Dynasty ends up winning 150 to 116 over Nick and Jamie. Huge win for Black Ice Dynasty, moving him into 3rd place. I mean, he was outside of the playoffs, wasn't he, last week? And now he moves into 3rd place. Nick and Jamie, I think they were in 6th place in the playoffs. Now they're moved down to 9th, which just shows you how close everything is in this league. This is a devastating loss for Nick and Jamie, I think. But let's go inside the numbers for this game. So Black Ice, who, I mean, week to week, you never know who's going to play. I mean, he's just streaming a team for the most part. So he plays Marcus Mariota, who gets 20 points. 22 for AJ Green, who I can't believe he wasn't suspended. So Mike Evans gets suspended for his shenanigans, but AJ Green doesn't for his because he said, yeah, it was bad. Just seems still, I mean, a 1 game, whatever. Bunches of Funches gets 26 points. Melvin Gordon, who is usually one of his better players, only gets 9.2. McCafferty gets 20. 14 from Davis, and Kamara, who's also been great, 24.8. And LeVar picked up the Chicago defense, who got 2, along with his kicker, who got 11. I mean, LeVar's team, he's got a really, really good team. Like, but, it's so inconsistent. That's the thing. In the games that he wins, he does this. He gets 150 points. In the games that he loses, he'll get, 60. This just happened to be a week that he got the 150. So, he's a team that I want him as far away from me come playoff time as humanly possible. Let me tell you that. So, but it's almost the same thing with Nick and Jamie. They've kind of had a similar pattern. On the weeks that they do amazingly, they have their four-headed monster and they will just get blowout wins. And then the weeks that they don't, they have pretty poor performances. This wasn't a poor performance, but look, I get 28 from Tom Brady, 10 from Rashard Matthews, 7 from Antonio Brown, which is 7.7 points. That's against Indianapolis, nonetheless. That's Jones gets 2.2, 3.2 for Adrian Peterson, who he looked like he was going to be like the pickup of the year, and then he just kind of fell off the map once Carson Palmer went down. Robert Woods, who might be the pickup of the year, gets 37.1 points.
2 weeks in a row with Woods off the charts by way of golf. Right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I almost picked up that guy the week that he picked. And he actually got him before I did. And look, 32 for Goff on the bench. C.J. Anderson got 6, and then 17 for Deion Lewis. Although a lot of that was on the kickoff return. But see, this is the thing. Like, the Nick and Jamie team is another team that I wouldn't want to face in the playoffs. But I don't know if they're going to make it.
Both 2 good teams.
Yeah.
These are both 2 good teams. Both teams are solid here. Both teams.
Yeah. I just would.
Good players, good fantasy players. Lots of upside, looks like, from various different positions. 2 good teams. And
constant action on the waiver wire. Miner still hasn't spent a dime, even a fake money. But still has he goes sifting through the garbage bin after everybody does their bidding. He just goes through it and picks up the players of the week, and they've been a fantastic team doing that. But look, Nick and Jamie have been on the waiver wire. They're willing to spend the money, but they just keep churning. But they're not. They have a pretty consistent core that they seem to have added to it, but I don't know. And the interesting thing is also they have two empty bench spots, or at least one empty bench spot now. So I don't know. The question is really how much does this loss impact? Because moving to 4-6, that puts them almost in hockey territory about record wise. Yep. So you got to start. There's 3 games left. You got to start thinking about wins here. So it's tough. Geez, your thoughts on this game or either of these teams?
Well, once again, Miner has managed to just put together a hellaciously ridiculous squad. The one constant has been Kamara. That was a great pickup on that Saints running back. It's just been phenomenal all season long. He plug and play. Davis, Funchess, Mariota. This guy, I like hockey. They just have that touch. They grab the hot guy and just plug him in. A lot of these guys do their moves early Sunday morning. You don't even know what they're going to do all week. And then I don't know what they're reading, but it's working. And then Nick and Jamie, we talked about this 3-headed monster business over and over and over again ad nauseum. Woods was amazing. 37 points for their team. He's like a third of their whole score. And then Matthews, I don't know why this Matthews guy continues to make the lineup. And you see what happens when Gronk and Brown have average games. Nick and Jamie struggle. They got to have it from all their players.
Right.
And then Jones just fell off the face of the earth. And Peterson, like you said, 3.2 points. Ouch. Adrian Peterson, buddy, what's happening? Mm-hmm. And then the $30 man Boswell, the kicker, gets 7. So I guess it was worth every penny of that $30 free agency. So kicker.
Yeah.
$30 for a kicker, my God. But that's how they shake out. Like, nobody wants to play LeVar Minor. And Lee with 19 on the bench. I mean, these guys could have played golf, but how do you play golf over Tom Brady? You don't.
I mean, I might start thinking about doing it if I were Nick and Jamie. He's just hotter.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about physically.
How do you hit Tom Brady? That's bold.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, like, at some point, I mean, that's Lombardi thinking. you gotta get away from that and just go, look, who's the hot hand, and go with it sometimes.
So what you're saying is that's the thinking of a low end coach 3.
That's what I'm saying, kind of.
I didn't say it.
I mean, I didn't either. I just confirmed the saying of it. But I'm not saying that Lombardi is a low end coach 3. I'm just saying that a low end coach 3 might have done that, and there are some similarities between the way Lombardi thinks about things and a low end coach 3.
There's a correlation.
Yeah, there's some overlapping sentiments. So yeah, is there anything else that we want to go over on this game?
Anything from Dr. Hockey, the man who brutalized said coach?
I mean, look, they got good players on the bench. They got good players in the roster. These are 2 good teams. I don't have that much derision about either one of them.
All right, let's move on to 2 not so good teams: the Hackettstown Hagglers and Nicky Baby.
You know what? I'm not even going to take offense to that. That is happily worded.
Now, this was the closest game of the week, with the Hackettstown Hagglers pulling it out at the end, 113.08 to 110.06. Now, I did have the pleasure of being on the phone with you during that last game. So I told you I woke up at like 5:30 Pacific time from my events on Saturday night. I think I was texting you all night, Dr. Hockey, about how much fun I was having.
You were having an exceptional amount of fun.
I was having a lot of fun. Anyway, so I slept off the day, but then, you're like, all right, I'm going to beat Nick and whatever. And I'm like, are you? I mean, he has his kicker going. And you're like, he has his kicker going, whatever. And then that slowly changed from, he has his kicker going to, what's going on? So before we get into that, let's get into the numbers of the players. So Stafford, who was picked up from me, ends up doing pretty well. 28.66 points against Cleveland versus McClown, who only got 15.48. Anderson with 18.5 versus Will Fuller, which, I mean, I guess I don't know what's going on. Why is he still? I mean, there was a reason why I dropped him when I did, and he's still playing him, and now he's doubtful. He's got to clean up that mess. I don't know, whatever. Sterling Shepard with 25.20 points, compared to 14.2 for Deshaun Jackson, who's actually, that's one of his better games. Coleman got 15.8 after Freeman went down, but 31.10 points for Ingram. T.Y. Eldon with only 11. I mean, he ended up actually playing both Jacksonville running backs. I mean, we talked about that on the program last week, but he actually did it. So 11 points from Yeldon, 6.6 from Fournette. Alfred Morris, who you've been holding on forever, only ends up with 5.3. Doyle with only 2.9, but still better than Jordan Reed, who was out of the game with 0. And actually, in an amazing sense of sportsmanship, which is the exact opposite of what I did the week before with Lombardi, where I refused to call him and I was just sitting there crossing my fingers that he would never put in somebody. You actually did the sportsman-like thing and texted Nick that Reed was out and that he should go out and get a tight end. And he didn't. But you at least made the effort. So, I mean, kudos to the Hagglers on their sportsmanship, which is exact opposite of my cutthroat nature. So, golf clap.
Yeah, ironically, had he put in a tight end, we most likely would have lost that game.
Yes. And then 9 for Prater, 15 for the Los Angeles defense, 5 for the Jacksonville defense, which is Nick's best offensive player, struggling in this game. And then only 10 for the kicker, and we can get into that about how that played out with the kicker. So why don't you describe what was going through your mind there during that last game?
Well, first of all, it's the freaking kicker, all right? It's McManus. His team sucks, all right? Denver sucks. They can't do anything. So what did they do in the first quarter? They kicked 2 ridiculous field goals. Luckily, they were like 39 yards. They were on the perimeter of 4-pointers. Luckily, they were, as you can see, 3 field goals, 30 to 39 yards. Had those been, one more yard out, this really would have been a sweaty performance. It would have been 113.06 to 113.08. Way too close for my liking. And then, Nicky maybe, I don't know what he was doing on Sunday. Maybe he had a lot going on. He didn't heed the text, so Jordan Reed continued to play. And then his Jacksonville defense, the backstory on that was they had a fumble return for a touchdown called back because they said the guy was down mysteriously. And then another Jacksonville guy intercepted the ball and ran it all the way back to the 1-yard line. So I got to thank Phillip Rivers for knocking the guy out of bounds at the 1. Otherwise, this is a Nicky baby win.
Yeah.
Nick didn't play Devontae Adams or Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, I guess he's going with his ground game here, right? But I don't know how neither one of these receivers didn't make it into his lineup here.
I don't know.
I don't know about this whole playing both Jacksonville running backs. I don't know what happened here. I don't know.
Maybe he doesn't know
that. I mean, look. I have...
Look, Fournette had a great season. I understand Fournette's in the game, right? But both of them?
And yeah,
I don't know.
And you don't put and you don't put in Emmanuel Sanders over Fuller? Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the reluctance about Devontae Adams because Green Bay's quarterback situation is atrocious.
Right.
But you sat Emmanuel Sanders too.
Yeah, there's some questionable calls there. I also have to say there's some.
It might do. I mean, not that the Houston quarterback situation is any more promising either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I mean, and then, some questionable calls I have to say on the Hagglers right here. So Forte, who you picked up for your last dime, ends up out with a swollen knee. So you don't play him. Granted.
On Thursday. Okay, nobody knew that when we picked him up on Wednesday.
Right.
Hagglers didn't play Stephon Diggs either. Why didn't that happen?
Yeah.
Well, because we had the vaunted Jets. Okay, the Jets beat the Bills. And if you saw what they did in that Tampa Bay game, you would be horrified.
Well, also you had, he had the two.
Idiot! Look at this team; they're horrific.
They also had he also had the toothache. I recall. he was out from practice with the toothache.
You don't know what this guy's been shenaniganizing all week. Out from practice for a toothache. You're on the bench.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, first of all, this Robbie Anderson pickup is amazing, right?
Yeah, it's been good.
I don't know how you find this diamond in that rough.
First of all, Kibble threw him in the garbage weeks ago.
Because he's playing on the Jets. I mean, how could you think not otherwise?
Yeah, but Kimmel's a Jets fan like me, so.
Yeah, he picked him up. This guy is like a Jet.
I was misled by Kate or Josh McClown. He sucks. Okay, don't buy into the hype that this guy is good. He sucks.
He's fine. He's serviceable for the week.
I don't think he's good. I just think he keeps getting this Anderson guy a bunch of points.
Yeah. Well, so but I still don't understand the Diggs thing. But okay, fine. Drake's cakes, though. He was all playing against Carolina, so that makes sense to me. But still, 17.2 points. You have to start finally considering him real now that because Ajay went to Philadelphia and he's been, Drake has been good ever since. I would imagine he's cracking the starting lineup this week. And Doug Martin, of course, is gone off your team as of the time of this broadcast. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that Doyle guy had an amazing game the other day, but, like, I don't know if you continue to go to the well on this guy.
Yeah, but, I mean, there's nobody really for the tight end.
It doesn't even matter next week. He's on a bye, so there's no choice. He's not playing.
And he's a tight end. I mean, the tight end market is kind of abysmal. But I mean, then Cooper Kupp with 10 points. I mean, the week before that, he kind of hurt you by playing him. I mean, this is the whole thing. Like the week before, you played Cooper Kupp, and because of that, you ended up losing by a point. This week, you end up winning by 3 points, not playing him. So although Sanu only got 5.9. I don't know what's going on with the Hag. I mean, like, look.
Yeah, I don't know how this. Mohammed's the new guy. He's kind of. He might be out of here.
I don't know. I mean, look, this is my opinion about the Hagler. I mean, like, it's kind of similar to what I was talking about with the Whalers, in that you've also, and also similar to Nick. So you lost your quarterback, just like he lost his quarterback, both of whom were great and, like, led their teams. And now Whalers has lost Ezekiel Elliott to suspension. But it's like you're cobbling together, week by week. It's like desperation moves week by week, trying to get the win each week. You're still all in it, although Nick, this is a huge blow to Nick moving to 4-6. So, you're all in it, but it's like you're in desperation mode for on a week to week basis, and it's like, well, let's see what happens this week, and let's try to get in there, and you might, but. It seems kind of frantic over there in Hackettstown Hagler land.
I mean, look, I maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we won't know to the end of the season. But I just don't think you can win this league if you don't have a quarterback that's dropping that 25-plus points a game.
Sadly, I have to agree with that.
I actually have to disagree with that. I do. I mean, look at the 1603ers. We haven't had crap at quarter. We've had everything everywhere else except quarterback. Quarterback is the one area that we've been pretty bad at, and we're not dropping points there. This has proved the opposite to me.
I just think you get closer towards playoff time. You need your staple guys. You got to have your quarterback drop 25. He's not dropping 25. I don't see you winning the league. I just don't see it.
I mean, maybe 20. I mean, look, 25. I mean, but 20 to 25. Look, I agree that you're not going to get 8. Although I even won the game when Kirk Cousins had 8 points. So I don't know. Look, I would love to have a quarterback that's dropping 40 something like Watson, but I mean,
25. I mean, no. Look, Watson was just amazing. But I think you need 25 points per game for your quarterback. I think you need that staple. And there's no other position player in your roster who's primed to put up numbers on a weekly basis like that other than the QB.
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins was for a long period of time. I mean...
You're gonna need that in playoff time, I think. I just think that needs to happen. Maybe it's Kirk Cousins, maybe it's Eli. I don't know, but and I think this is my point with the Haglers. You're gonna have you went from I felt like they're in a position to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I agree
with Watson.
Yeah.
Now Watson.
Everything.
Yeah, I mean you lost your steady supply of points.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need that quarterback to drop 25 or more in the playoffs.
Well, but I also think that there wasn't enough surrounding. Like, I think that the whole team was largely Watson, and then that went away. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's so much more surrounding. Like once he was gone, it was like, oh my God, what's like? He covered up a lot of porous play, let's say, in the rest of this roster, and now it's like you're so not only do you not have that consistent point total, but then also you have very middling players otherwise. I mean, but I agree with Watson. I think that you could have won the whole thing. You would have been one of the teams, that really was in contention for it all. And I'm not saying that you still won't. I'm just saying it's a much tougher road.
All right, yes, shut up and move on to the next game.
All right, let's move on to the next game. We'll talk about Kirk Cousins, who's sitting on the bench, the 1603ers. Now, this was a game that I just part of the reason why I slept all day without having to even think about this. I was just like, I'm going to lose this game. I thought I was going to. I had nobody going. Terrible matchups, terrible everything. And I woke up to a shock that I won. So the mistake that I made, interestingly enough, is that I picked up Eli Manning, figuring that he was going to have some pride in himself after that Rams game. And he was going to San Francisco. He was going to get like 30 points. But no. It was Kirk Cousins on the bench who got 30 points, which, by the way, cost me Danny Woodhead, who I was going to go get, but Whalers ended up picking him up. But I didn't have room on the roster for him because I had to have roster space for Eli Manning. So win the game, but lose the Woodhead. Anyway, Prescott gets only 13, Landry with 15. Jordy Nelson, he's garbage ever since Rodgers went down. Gurley with a pedestrian for him, 19.6 points. 7.1 from Gore. Graham got him off to a good start this week with 20.7 points, and then only 12 from Parker and 13 for Lutz. For the 03ers, look, Eli Manning, he managed to get his 20 points. Still lost 10 points there by not playing Kirk Cousins. Teddy Ginn, who was great all the rest of the previous few weeks, only gets 1.3 points in this game, which, terrible. But Thalian comes in to save the day with 30.6 points. Yayos. McCoy, who has been concerning as of late with only 9. Thompson, who, this is... he's also... It's not that he's concerning, but he's not been as great as he was earlier in the season with 9. Rasta Safarian with 12, 10 from James White. I mean, the 12 from Rasta Safarian was good enough. And mind you, this is the week that Kelsey and Hunt were on a bye, so this was another week that I was like, oh, God. Detroit gets 13 points, and Zerline, one of my better players, has gotten 17 points the last 3 weeks in a row, which has been amazing for my team. And really has kind of put us over the top and all this stuff. So, look, this was a game that we needed to survive. Kelsey, Hunt was at a bye. Hogan was out. Amendola was questionable. I mean, this was, I'm lucky to have survived this game. I'm just, and it's a huge victory. But I was not expecting it. It's a nice surprise.
I love the backhand. We're all very fortunate to have smeared this team.
I didn't smear this team. I what?
I mean, look, the guy survived bye week, and he survived injuries, and he wins the game. So you definitely get the credit there. All right, I mean, you Hunt is your man, Kelsey's your man, and these guys are out. Right? You put in some, the roster. I mean, you're going with Thompson. You put Eli Manning in a starting position. I mean, and somehow you win because you kicked your way through it. Fine, take it, run with it.
That's basically what I'm doing.
I mean, give credit where credit's due. You want to talk about cobbling a team for Sunday?
Oh, I absolutely.
This right here is an exercise in cobbling.
I absolutely agree with that.
I mean, Tillet's team is not too bad here at all. I mean, you're right. I mean, what's crazy is 19 points is pedestrian for Gurley, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially against Houston.
Really quiet for Prescott. I mean, it's probably a game you should not have won, but you won.
That's exactly how I feel.
I don't know how this guy plays Dak Prescott over Matt Ryan. I mean,
Prescott has been
how
great.
did that happen? Right?
I mean, Prescott has been great.
Huh?
Prescott's been great.
You play him over Matt Ryan, though?
Yeah, I do. Prescott has gotten 30. Well, then he did have one game where he got 7, but that was like a monsoon-like game. 35, 36, 29, 26, 21, and 19. What has Ryan got? He has gotten 19, 23, 19, 19, 14, 12, 20, 16, 19. I mean, come on. Prescott has clearly been the better guy most weeks. He's been in the 30s. Yes, you absolutely play Prescott here.
I guess. I'm just looking at some of these, these lineup decisions here.
Look, I don't think this was a lineup.
Watkins was on the bench. I don't know why. I don't know about that one either.
Who?
Watkins was on the bench.
It wouldn't have made that much of a difference.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't question any of these.
It is what it is now. But,
I don't question any of the decisions that he made here. I think that this was the team that he should have put out there. And I just, other than maybe Jordy Nelson, I might have played Watkins instead of Nelson at this point. But other than that, and look, I get it. I get why you would try to continue to rely on Jordy Nelson, but it's not going to happen. You need to finally, cut bait there. I know. A low-end coach 3 might continue to play Jordy Nelson.
Well, let's not take any unnecessary digs there, Zach. Let's be nice.
But, other than that, other than this, I mean, he's just not going to.
I don't know about this Frank Gore action either.
Instead of Jonathan Stewart, I mean, it's one hand, I mean, come on. Frank Gore, I mean, Gore's been fine. And Stewart is not really, I mean, like, I don't blame him for any of the decisions here. I think that this was just a week where they just didn't perform like they should have. I mean, Dak Prescott gets a normal game like he normally does. And he wins. I mean, like, things didn't go well. I mean, Frank Gore against Pittsburgh, I guess that's a difficult call. Maybe you play Stewart instead. Still doesn't make the difference. I mean, I guess if he would have done that and played Watkins, does that...
Yeah, Watkins, he wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but those are difficult calls to make. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't totally winnable, but I just think that he got... It was just unfortunate for... I mean, because he had great matchups in a lot of these games. It just didn't happen. And I had terrible matchups in a lot of my games, and somehow came through. I mean, McCoy against New Orleans, 9 points, that's it. I don't know. I'm shocked by this.
New Orleans is playing ball now, though. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're not too savvy anymore.
That's true.
They found their stride.
That is true. All right. Anything else that you want to add to this?
Nope.
Okay. Well, let's look. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's look at the standings and see what teams have to do now. So, with the loss to Eugene and to the Blues, they dropped down to 6-4, which opens up a 2-game lead for the 1603ers. Basically, one more win and the 03ers clinch a playoff spot. One win and one loss by either Eugene, Black Ice Dynasty, and the Blues, and they clinch a playoff spot or clinch first place against, or that team will not be able to reach first place, or at least they would clinch second place. I don't know, whatever. Like, one more win for the 03ers, and that really puts them in a good position, at least. I mean, at least it would come down to points. Look, I mean, this is how close it is. So 3 teams at 6-4. So you have Dave Secret Crutch, Black Ice Dynasty, and the St. Louis Blues. Any one of those teams can win or get that second. I mean, look, technically they could get the first position, but I mean, they're really fighting for that bye position at this point. And then you have Tilletree, The special team, Hagglers, and Lightning Rods all at 5-5, fighting for that 5th and 6th playoff spot. And then you have Nick and Jamie, who's also a good team. Nikki Baby, who doesn't give a crap about this season, it seems. And House Targaryen. So the other teams are 4 and 6, and then House Targaryen at 3 and 7, really trying to win out. And if they can, look, maybe push themselves over the top. So I mean, it's so close. I mean, like one loss can move you almost from second place down to out of the playoffs, and one win can move you from 10th place or 11th place even, or 12th place technically, to almost making the playoffs. So I mean, that's how close this is with 3 games to go. I mean, we're really come down to the home stretch, and it is close. And nobody has anything to do. Well, I mean, you don't want to comment on this?
It is. It's a very competitive league.
Yeah.
I mean, I see no chance for the Millennials, but
who has the same record as you?
Ending those guys. It's a very competitive league.
I mean, he literally has the same record as you.
I mean, but look at that roster. I mean, come on. Who are we kidding here?
Well, what do you think your chances are?
Solid. Solid. Solid as a rock.
What do you think the Hagglers' chances are?
You're going to have some QB problems, sir. You got to cure that problem. Hey, he cures that problem.
You know, the hockey, that hurts, because Deshaun Watson hurts. Okay,
he cures that problem. He's in business. He's in the playoffs.
I mean, he's got Bridgewater sitting on the bench waiting for him to play, so.
I'm saying, he can cure that problem, and he's in business.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
And Geese, what do you think of hockey's chances of making the playoffs?
I mean, he's putting up some monster points the last couple. He's the guy I do not. I have to play him, by the way.
Yeah, last week of the season.
This guy's putting up $1.50 every week, and if your team doesn't put that up, guess what? You're catching the L train. Not what I want to be experiencing this late in the season. I expected hockey to just roll over, but of course he's a madman.
Yeah, this is a very madman-like season. I don't know. All right, well, let's look at the games that are actually going to take place. Well, let's start with what I think is probably the most important game of the week, standings-wise. So you have 6-4 Black Ice Dynasty versus 6-4 Eugene Dave Secret Crush. This game is basically, I'm not going to go so far as to say that it's going to determine second place, because we don't know that, but I think that the team that loses this game will not get second place. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but it really puts them behind the 8 ball for that. And it will eliminate their chances of getting first place, most likely. So, I mean, it's very hard to ever see what Minor's doing on a given week. But let's go with what he's got so far. So, right now he's got Mariota going at Pittsburgh. Is that his only quarterback? That's his only quarterback. Okay, so he's got... Oh, yeah, because he lost Winston. So he's got Mariota at Pittsburgh. I don't think he's going to do well versus Russell Wilson versus Atlanta. I give the edge to Russell Wilson. AJ Green at Denver. I think Denver's defense is atrocious. Although they still have Talib and stuff, but I think AJ Green is going to do fine versus Doug Baldwin versus Atlanta. So the Wilson to Baldwin combo. I mean, look, I give the edge, I guess, to AJ Green, but the combo of Russell Wilson and Baldwin, I'm going to give the edge to Dave's Secret Crush. Feel free to chime in at any point here, guys. Or don't.
No, this combo, I agree with you. I agree with you on the combo here. Russell Wilson is now the most exciting player in the NFL because Deshaun Watson's out.
It kind of
but,
is. Yeah.
Yeah, but so he's going to get his numbers, which probably means Doug Baldwin to get his numbers.
Yeah.
But
All right, Larry Fitzgerald at Houston versus Marquise Lee at Cleveland. Who gets the edge?
Houston's defense is pretty bad.
Yeah, and it's Larry Fitzgerald.
But you know what? The Rams are also pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, I think Fitzgerald really gets the edge there. I mean, Cleveland is terrible also, but I don't even know if Lee's going to play. Okay, let's look at the running back matchups, and this is actually really interesting. So let's look at these as combos. So you have Melvin Gordon versus Buffalo and Kamara versus Washington for minor, and then you have Le'Veon Bell versus Tennessee and Abdullah at Chicago. Oof.
I give the running back matchup to Black Ice.
Yeah, I do too. Absolutely, I think. Geese?
And
Geese, are you awake? Or are you playing Risk? Are you taking over Kamchatka right now? What's going on?
No, I'm I agree with most of what you said. If I see anything to disagree with, I'll chime in.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I think that the Kamara-Gordon matchup, I just think those guys are really good. And look, Bell is good and playing Tennessee. But, I mean, Abdullah, he might do it right. I just think that the matchup certainly favors Black Ice Dynasty. Witten versus Philadelphia and Vernon Davis at New Orleans. I don't know. Vernon Davis, maybe?
I mean, does Kirk Cousins really throw the tight end like that?
I mean, Jordan Reed, he did.
I mean, Vernon Davis is a good player.
I mean, also, who does Kirk... Kirk Cousins has no line. So basically he throws it to either Thompson or the tight end. I mean, he's basically just trying to get out of situations because he has no defense.
You know what? I'm going to favor the Davis situation here soon because Philly's just hot.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So Philly is hot and Philly is good. The problem is that they are high scoring games for both teams, it seems. So yes, Philadelphia does get their points, but so does the opponents a lot of the times. Not necessarily on the scoreboard, but in fantasy wise. So I don't know. And you also have that Dallas-Philadelphia rivalry.
Which usually means it ends up being a low scoring game. Usually, right? The division games always tend to be,
I guess, yeah.
But,
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's pick'em to me. I don't know.
Maybe it's even. I don't know. Maybe it's a draw between the two of them.
Yeah. And then DeAndre Hopkins versus Rex Burkhead. So obviously I'm going. What?
Black guys will even leave Burkhead in there.
Yeah, I don't even know. Although he's playing Oakland in Mexico City.
Black guys might make another move there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, whoever he puts in, I still think DeAndre Hopkins gets the better of the matchup there. And then, interestingly enough, their kickers are playing each other on Monday night. Wow, that'll be interesting. So, yeah. If this comes down to like the last second kind of thing, they both have kickers in the same game going against each other Monday night. That could be quite interesting. And then the Kansas City defense playing the Giants versus the Philadelphia defense playing Dallas. I'm going to give the edge to the Kansas City defense there.
Yes.
This is a close game, man. I don't know. Who are you picking in this game?
Oh, good one.
I mean, because mind you, Miner still has McCaffrey on a bye, Funchess on a bye, T.Y. Hilton on a bye. He could still put in Travis Benjamin, now playing with Buffalo, and Jay Gordon's still suspended. And Brate, I guess he could put in for Vernon Davis, but I don't know if he would. Whereas Eugene could put in Cooks at Oakland, maybe. Cohen, I don't know. I mean, he has some options there, but I don't know.
And the thing is, that they're close in these other positions, but I do think that Dave's Secret Crush can really distance himself at the first two slots here.
Yeah, I kind of do too. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I think that this whole game is going to come down to the Monday night game. I mean, first of all, he has Russell
Absolutely.
Wilson,
It'll be down to the
Baldwin,
Monday night.
and the kicker. So I don't think this one's going to be decided till Monday night.
It will not. Yeah.
I mean, LeVar, he'll be done by. Well, no, he still has the kicker in that game. I don't know. I'm going to pick Eugene in this one. I think that he's been second place all season, and I see him staying there. I don't know, but slightly.
Check out Wilson's numbers here. I'm gonna go with Dave's Secret Crush here.
Yeah. Geese?
Yeah, I may have to. Dave's Secret Crush looks like they got this one. But, you know, the guy's been hot lately. It's hard to... Are you going based off of what you see right now? Because remember, LeVar's a Sunday morning maestro.
Right. No,
along with on the show, so you never know what he's going to pull at the last minute.
Right. So I'm half going with what I'm going based off of what I see here, but I mean you can go off of that and off of what you think Miner will just do, pulling a rabbit out of his hat. I mean I'm still going with Dave Seaver. I think that he edges him out here, but I don't know.
Are you really? I think that Wilson to Baldwin at some point is going to finally, falter.
Do you think it's going to against Atlanta?
I'll go with LeVar.
Okay. I mean, look, it's not like it's that big a disparity between these two. I mean, like, I certainly don't think there's going to be I think this is going to be a really close game either way. I think DeAndre Hopkins versus Arizona is still a good matchup, even though Savage is in there. And Fitzgerald against Houston. I mean, the other way around. I think he's going to get a ton of points from that game. I think both defenses are not good. And then Baldwin and Wilson. And I think Le'Veon Bell against Tennessee will be fine. I mean, Abdullah really is his weak spot, and Witten will keep pace with Davis. I mean, I'd give the slight edge to Eugene's team. Although if LeVar puts up like 150, I mean, like, I think this is largely dependent on what rabbit he pulls out of the hat. I mean, Kamara's going to have a great game against Washington. And AJ Green, I think, is going to have a great game against Denver. So, I mean, I think it really depends on the amount of numbers that those guys put up as to whether or not he wins. All right, but all right, so two picking Dave's Secret Crush, one picking Black Ice Dynasty. It'll be interesting. I think this will be a great game. It's actually the one to watch this week. All right, let's move on to the next game. What game do we want to cover now, guys?
I don't know. We can cover Cisco Three Years
versus the Hagglers. You don't want to save that for the end? Me talking to Geese?
Well, we can move on very briefly to the Millennials.
Yeah, that's true. All right. All right. Well,
we could probably talk during our matchup.
Yeah, I know. This match. I mean, look. First of all, I have no idea what the Hagglers are going to do, but at quarter. I mean, like. First of all, you have so many buys on your team this week. You have Doyle on a bye. You have Anderson on a bye. Forte is not even playing on a bye. You don't McClown on a bye. I mean, like, it's amazing that you're even fielding a team. You've picked up Gresham to at least give yourself a tight end. But I mean, all right. Shepard against Kansas City. Diggs versus the Rams, but Diggs going against Thalian. So we have both receivers in the game, and Thalian has actually been doing better. Cousins at New Orleans. I mean, look, New Orleans has been better, than they had previously. But I mean, I still think he'll do okay. Teddy Ginn going against Washington. I mean, right now that's what I'm going with. I mean, because it still looks like Hogan's injured. I mean, we'll see the status on Amendola. I don't know, whatever. But right now, I think I'm going to go with that. And then you have McCoy against the Chargers, Hunt and Kelsey at the Giants. I mean, come on. I think the Giants have given up a touchdown to a tight end every single week, and now they have Kelsey going against them. So I mean, Zerline with his 17 points, Detroit at Chicago. I mean, I'm debating whether or not to play White or Thompson at this point, being that R. Kelly in the closet is injured, and that leaves only Thompson out there versus White at Oakland, who just gives up a lot of points. I don't know. I think the 1603ers will actually have a decent game or have a good game here. For the Hagglers, I mean, Shepard, Diggs, Drake's Cakes, and Coleman. So Coleman's at Seattle, and Drake's Cakes versus Tampa Bay. I think Drake's Cakes will have a decent game. Has Gresham done anything since his role in Batman? Okay. 17 and 10. Okay, sure. Maybe he'll do something. Sanu at Seattle. This might be my lock of the week. I never do that. First of all, I never pick myself, and I never, but I mean, come on. I mean, what are you going to do here? Look, this is usually the game, and I will say this, historically, these are the type of games that the 1603ers lose. So maybe I won't make it the lock of the week because I always lose these type of games, but there is no reason why we should lose this game.
Yeah, I mean, even your matchups are better, right? Just the matchups, they're in a better situation here.
I mean, that's really the thing. It's not even that I think that the team is so much better. Look, Ginn can have an off game. He can't. But I mean, come on, look at these matchups. Hunt and Kelsey at the Giants. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying that they can't, shit the bed. It absolutely can happen. But, I mean, I certainly am favored on paper. Geese? What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, this is definitely going to be a interesting matchup right here. And basically, it's a must-win. So, I don't know how much I really have to say on this, because we have a lot of work to do before Sunday. We have a lot of work. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, I'm certainly picking the 03ers at this point. I never do it, which is probably going to cost me the win because I'm doing it. But I mean, it's just on paper, it's so overwhelming. I can't not. I wouldn't be honest if I didn't. So. That probably
what will actually be a good football game is this Minnesota Ram game, right?
Yeah.
Which back in the day you could care two shits about, but that's probably a really big, exciting football game.
It will be, yeah. Well, all right, let's move on. So hockey. I'm assuming you're picking the 03ers in this game.
Yes.
Geese, are you picking the Hagglers?
Overall, the matchups are unfair.
Yeah. Geese?
I'm picking, myself.
I mean,
That's right. Have pride in yourself. Have pride.
I mean, yeah.
You have to.
I don't. I always pick against myself, and I've been on a 4-game winning streak doing that. Let me tell you something. If I lose this game somehow, I will never pick myself to win again. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's move on to the next game. You want to move on to the Millennials game versus Nikki Baby?
Sure, that'll be a quick game.
Yeah, dear God, this is a terrible game. Okay. I mean, the loser absolutely goes. I mean, there's it's just who can run to the golf course faster in this game. I mean, technically, Nikki Baby has a 1-game lead, but I mean, all right. So the projection is 99-89. Stafford at Chicago versus Dalton at Denver. Thoughts?
It's 99-89 with everybody playing.
Yeah, there's no buys.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, Nikki Baby wins the game. Why do we even?
Well,
you really need to go line by line.
Yeah, because Nikki Baby sucks.
He
First of
just
all,
needs to make a couple of lineup adjustments.
I mean, Fuller is doubtful, so he has, even if he were to play 0 points. So, I mean, yeah, he puts in Crabtree, gets 13. Marvin Jones and Kelvin Benjamin.
Projected for 0 points, and he's still projected to win.
I mean, there's that.
Right. Just look at that.
and he still has both Jacksonville running backs in there, and he's still projected to win.
Right.
I mean, and who is the Millennials gonna sub in? I mean, I guess he puts in Alex Smith against the Giants. That can get him some points. Aguilar, I don't.
McKinnon will get his points because he does that on a weekly basis.
Does he? He got 6 last week.
Well,
and he's going against the Rams.
He's going against a good defense too. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
there goes that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's just.
All right, I'm going to put it this way: if these two teams, so Dalton, Jones at Chicago, Benjamin, I don't even need to read these because I don't even care. If they go with this exact lineup, I'm going to pick the Millennials to win this game. But if Nick makes any substitution and gives any shit whatsoever about this game, if he has some pride and gets that $5 back, Nicky Baby will win this, moving him to 5-6, holding on to the slimmest hopes of a playoff chance, and just kicking the Millennials out to the curb, out to pasture. If Nicky Baby doesn't do anything, yeah, the Millennials will win. They'll move to 4-7. Nicky Baby will be right there with them, and they could both go graze out in the fields together. I don't know. All right. So who are you picking? It obviously hockey. You're just not. You're always picking Nicky Baby against the Millennials.
Right.
Geese.
Like you said, this is a race to the golf course. I picked Nick to go on a 6-game losing streak.
Really? You're picking the Millennials?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
I gotta enter myself somehow in this mess.
Why not? Yeah, that's the who gives a shit game of the week. All right, what's the next game? Does anybody give a shit about the next game? I think so. There's games to give a shit about, right? Lightning Rods versus Tilla-Trey. This is a good matchup. First of all, 2 5-5 teams, so this is gonna knock one of them down to 5-6, one of them up to 6-5. This is a huge game for both of these teams. Look at that. Lightning Rods picked up Blake Bortles. Bastard. I actually had him. I bid $1 on him and dropped him because he's that terrible. Geez, you should have picked up Bortles there. Now you even lost that opportunity. Whatever.
Oh, that's a shame.
Whatever. Bortles at Cleveland. Prescott versus Philadelphia. I'm giving the edge to Philadelphia. To Prescott. Des Bryant versus Landry. Bryant is playing versus Philadelphia, and Smith-Schuster versus Tennessee tomorrow night, and Macklin going in there. He's making a reappearance, and woo, that's not good. But he's finally, I think, benching Jordy Nelson. Maybe he's listening to the podcast before it's even been broadcast to him, so he finally makes the adjustment. Gurley at Minnesota, and Perrine at New Orleans. Is that the backup running back, I guess? I don't know. Mixon versus Murray. Rudolph versus Graham. So Rudolph is playing the Rams and Graham's playing Atlanta. Tyreek Hill at the Giants. I think that's a smart play versus Devontae Parker versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. So he's got Landry and Parker again going, but they're playing the Bucks. This is gonna be a close game. I mean, it's not projected to be. I'm gonna give the edge to Tilla-Trey though. I mean, Bortles and Des. Yeah, I'm giving the edge to Tilla-Trey. Maybe it won't even be close. I mean, maybe it'll be somewhat close because Smith-Schuster has actually been really good lately. But I mean, Gurley is just so much better than Mixon and Murray. I think Graham is better than Rudolph. I think Tampa Bay is a very weak team. And Prescott blows Bortles out of the water. So, yeah, I'm going Tiltrey.
Oh, it's a close one. Close one. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go Tillett Trey here.
Yeah. Mr. Contrarian Geese, what are you going with?
I'm gonna go with. I took Blake Bortles. Come on, that's just kicking the man beyond down. I have to go to the trade just because of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I guess I've just kind of assumed that Tillett Trey is going to be a playoff team this year. I mean, it just seemed like, I mean, look, if he would have won last week, I think he would have been in second place. I mean, the idea that he would be out of a playoff spot, essentially, if he loses this, I mean, that's just, I can't see that happening. It would shock me if that happened, in fact. So I think Tillett Trey is going to win this game and, really put the lightning rods back against the wall. But I mean, look, if the lightning rods can pull out a win here, that's huge for him. And it really gets pretty desperate for Tillett. Although I think he has a lot of points against some of the other teams, so I think some coaches, particularly those on the broadcast, should be rooting for the lightning rods because I think they could at least, catch up to him in points as opposed to Tillett, who they might not be able to. Should it come down to that. Not to name names. Anyway, okay. Next game, the special team versus Nick and Jamie. Here's another good game. So 5-5 special team versus 4-6 Nick and Jamie. Nick and Jamie loses this, they could find themselves in last place. I mean, I doubt it because of the points, but that's quite astounding to me. Whereas the special team loses this, they, look, they win. They have the same record with each other. So this is a really interesting game. So you got Breeze versus Washington, Brady at Oakland, although it's in Mexico City. Thomas versus Washington, Antonio Brown versus Tennessee. I mean, these are good matchups. Good matchups for each of their players. Demaryius Thomas versus Cincinnati, Alshon Jeffrey at Dallas. Crowell versus Jacksonville. That's not a good matchup. Adrian Peterson at Houston. I mean, technically that is. Allen at Green Bay, Lewis at Oakland. I mean, here's the thing. I can never tell with New England running backs. I think Lewis's numbers were inflated by that kickoff return. I mean, he might do like 10. He might get actually his projection. Croft, the tight end in Cincinnati, at Denver versus Gronkowski. Obviously, you give the edge to Gronk. Clam Crowder at New Orleans versus Robert Woods. I mean, you got to give the edge to Woods there. And then Tucker versus Elliott and Denver versus Arizona. I'm picking Nick and Jamie in this game. Anybody else have any thoughts on this game?
Well, that's another situation where Whalers' whole team is playing, and he's projected to get 108 versus 129. I gotta go with Nick and Jamie as well.
Yeah, I think the matchups are just better for them this week.
Yeah.
Hockey?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much different analysis. I definitely think that it's a tough one.
I mean, Nick and Jamie loses this, they're done. Their backs are really against the wall. But I think that they come out with a win here. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
And then they bring the special team right back down to the same wall. I think for somebody like you, I think that you have to root for the Nick and Jamie almost here, because you want everybody dragged down back closer to you so that you can move right back closer to them. I think
absolutely.
I think there's a couple coaches on this broadcast that are rooting for Nick and Jamie in this game for their own personal reasons. Yeah. I'm not one of them. I don't care in this game what happens here. But yeah, all right. And let's move on to the last game of the week. House Targaryen versus the St. Louis Blues. I think everybody in this broadcast cares about this game. I don't think there's first of all, I know Dr. Hockey, you certainly care for a number of reasons, and I don't think that there's a game that the Blues plays that Geese and I don't at least pay attention to. So let's analyze this game. In fact, Hockey, I will let you analyze your game right here. Are you have you gone blank now that what's going on, Hockey? Wake up.
I mean, my focus is swayed. I mean, what do we think here? Nick and Jamie versus special team?
No, oh my God, you're so I'm talking about your own game. You versus the Blues.
Oh well, this is House Targaryen all day, every day. I mean, look what we got here with the Blues.
Go ahead.
There's a reason why we're favored to win here, right? I think pound for pound here, we've got a better lineup. Pound for pound here, we have better matchups, which means we should score more points, which means we should win the game.
Such fantastic analysis. Geese, why don't you go player by player into this game?
Okay, so let's see here. So we've got, first of all, Carson Wentz has been definitely comparable to Deshaun Watson this season. He has been a monster. All right, Julio Jones not exactly showed up, but it doesn't even matter because Wentz is your Deshaun Watson. I think everybody can agree on that. Richardson was a savvy pickup, but whatever. I mean, with Wentz playing as he is, Duke Johnson has been a really good pickup as well. And then Marshawn Lynch gets back into the lineup. I mean, I'm surprised you haven't shoved in DeMarco Murray after his amazing performance last week. And then you've got Golden Tate, which has been the money man. Ingram, this is a great matchup. I'm going to take House Targaryen on this one as my lock of the week.
Interesting. Well, why don't you go over the Blues side of the ledger right here, Geese?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's another team in this game. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So Collins is in there. Ebron and Riddick. Well, obviously he hasn't made any edits yet because I think Zach Ertz is actually eligible to come back. So we're not going based on this lineup. I'm assuming Ertz is going to be in there instead of Ebron. And Riddick he might keep. Miller. Evans is back, even though despite his... It's funny, Evans he put back, but Ertz he didn't. It's even questionable. And then they... I don't want to say that, but he already knows. They benched Tyrod Taylor, unfortunately, for the Blues. So Rivers is Allen. I still don't have much to say, even after we go over this quote-unquote team. I'm going to go back to hockey.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think... I'm looking at hockey's matchups. I mean, obviously I think Wentz is going to do well. Julio Jones against Seattle. I mean, this will be interesting because this is the first game without... the full Legion of Boom there, as Richard Sherman is out on the Monday night game, and Julio Jones might be the beneficiary of that. So it'll be interesting there. I mean, Richardson, I don't know, although it'll probably be a higher scoring game, but you don't even have another wide receiver, right? So whatever, play him. Um, Duke Johnson versus Jacksonville. That is a tough matchup. Marshawn Lynch versus New England. I don't think that is a tough matchup because New England's defense is horrid. Although you have so many options. I mean, like, Ellington can actually do... although... Ellington did fine last week, right? He got 12... no, you don't play him. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm thinking. And DeMarco Murray is playing against Pittsburgh. That's not who I'd play. Hooper versus Seattle, I wouldn't play him. I'd play Ingram against Kansas City, yeah. I mean, this is the lineup I would play. Tate against Chicago. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Eckler? You just picked him up, right?
Yeah.
26 points last week. Yeah, I think that's a good pickup. I don't know if I'd play him this week, but yeah. Yeah, I'm going with House Targaryen in this one. This may be my lock of the week, too. I don't know.
How far we've come this season. He is the lock of the week.
I mean, he's usually on the other end of that.
Time to fix.
I don't know if he is or isn't. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, depending on what you do, Geese. Your lineup is pretty. I want to be courteous to you and everything else, and I hate doing any of that with especially with an opponent that I'm playing. I don't like to give you any bulletin board material, but I don't know. Well, I'm certainly picking House Targaryen to win this game. So, all right, let's go over our locks of the week. Hockey, what's your lock of the week?
House Targaryen.
Geese?
House Targaryen.
I'm going with the 1603ers. I just, yeah. Sorry, Geese.
Yeah.
I hope that does not. I feel. First of all, I told you I never pick my team anyway. So if I'm gonna actually pick my team, I'm gonna lock of the week it. And like I said, if I lose this game, I will never pick my team again. All right. So it should be a fascinating week. I mean, to see how everything shakes out. Yeah, I mean, it's so close. And depending on how some of these games go, I mean, it's going to be really close and really just fighting down to the wire to get to that 5th and 6th playoffs. I mean, even 6th. I mean, because look, Dave's Secret Crush and Black Ice Dynasty play each other this week, which means one of them is going to drop down to 6 and 5, which means that team, the other teams could be one game behind that person. And if Lombardi loses, he'd be down to 6. I mean, everything. I think after this week we'll know probably who we can almost pretty much guess who will have seeds 1 and 2 for the most part. I mean, we won't know for sure, but we could probably guess it, and then we'll have no idea who's gonna get the other 4 playoff spots. I really don't. That's my assumption. Anyway. All right, well, I guess that's it. Anybody want to add anything else?
Not really.
Hockey?
I don't have too much 2 cents to add in. No.
All right, well, congratulations to the 2 of you. Well, actually, to all 3 of us on our previous week's wins. Good luck this week to everyone. And we'll be back. Yes, we will be back next week. Until then, bye, everyone.
Yep, peace out.
Play on, players.